Hello again. This video is the second of two videos on the topic of sorting in Power BI. And in the first video, we talked about different ways to make sort by columns and then what you need to watch out for when you use remove filters to do percent of total, for example, calculations. Sort by columns is a great feature, but I just want to show a few ways here you can avoid using them, or just some alternative ways of getting stuff sorted in your desired order. And so I'm going to cover custom format strings. You can actually sort by a measure in your visuals, and then the technique of using zero width spaces. And then I also will just show you some other tips about multi-column sorting in visuals. If you're learning from these videos and like them, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button for the Hoosier BI YouTube channel, and follow me on Twitter just to stay up to date with the latest content. All right, so let's talk first about custom format strings. This is a really useful feature when it can be used. And so, as I showed in the first video, typically you would have a visual like this, and it would start out with April, August, December, and your months would be in alphabetical order. And you would use a sort by column to get it to look like this. Well, there's another technique you can use, and that's a custom format string. So if I go over to the date table here, you can see I do have the columns to be used for sort by columns, but in this case, I'm creating this other column here, so ignore these two columns here, and basically making an expression like this, where I'm just taking the date value from the first column and then using the EO month function with 0. So I'm just taking the end of the current month of this. So with that, all of these values would be the same. For example, all the days of January would be January 31st of that year. And then what you can do is go to the data view, and if I click on that column, you can see that I'm using a custom date time format, and I'm using this one here with 4 M's, and that gives me the long version of the month, so the text version of the month. And so that's what's showing here. So, but behind the scenes, these values are all, January 31st, and then February 28th, and then March 31st, for example. So all the values have the same row, but that's what they are behind the scenes. And so they actually sort chronologically when you use them in a visual. And so that's what I've done here, where this is using the custom format string version of that, and I get my desired sort order. So again, that was one way to do this without actually creating a sort by column on the month. Okay, and in this case, you actually did need to set the x-axis to categorical instead of continuous to get this behavior. All right, a second way you can do it is with a measure. So in this case, this is what it looks like, and I just set up a real simple visual here where I have the month, and then I have the number of days in that month as the values, but this would work with a multi-table analysis as well. And so in this case, I've got this visual, and but I have the order sorted wrong, so I actually created a measure on my date table here called min date for sorting. So in this case, I'm just taking the minimum date of the date column on the date table, and I can add that to the visual in the tooltips. And once I do that, and so again, that's calculated in the context. So this would be January would be January 1st, February would be February 1st, would be the minimum date in that context. And so then what I can do is once I put it in the tooltips, it's then available for me to sort by, and so I can actually sort by that measure, and then I get the categories, in this case months, in the desired order. All right, so that's another way you can do it when you have date or numeric type data that you're talking about. That's a good technique there. The other one that I like to use sometimes is this one, and this one works with category kind of columns. And so if I go to the data view, it's the technique of using zero width spaces. And so I'll go back to the data table, and if I go to this column here, this has the formula. And so again, I'm using a switch function, and I'm just going over to my product column here, getting the value there, and then doing a simple switch again. But in this case, I'm using this formula where I'm actually putting a variable number of the unit chart characters. The zero width space is the 8203 is the number for a zero width space. So again, it's not adding any space, but it is factored in when the column tries to sort alphabetically. And so what I'm doing is I'm adding more of those spaces to the ones I want first and less to the others. So I'm just doing this here, and you get the idea. And so then I'm concatenating those spaces with the value from the product. So the resulting column looks just like this one, but each of them has as a prefix a different number of zero width spaces, which changes how they sort alphabetically. So then if I go back to the visual here, you can see, this is what it would look like if I hadn't done this. It's alphabetical, but when I put it in a simple table visual, the zero width spaces change the alphabetical sort order, and I get my desired order. Okay, so that's the technique of zero width spaces, which can be handy sometimes. And so again, that's 3 ways that you can avoid using sort by columns. And the last thing I wanted to show is just some general tips on sorting in visuals. So if we go to this page here, one tip a lot of people don't know is for the table visual, you can actually sort by multiple columns by holding Shift. So in this case, I'm using my zero width space column here. They're showing in the desired order, but if I hold Shift and then click on the value column, I can actually sort these by descending values. So not sure how often you'll need that, but just FYI that you can hold Shift and multi-column sort. When you're doing bar charts like this, so in this case I have a little hierarchy here with the product and the category. You're probably aware you can go to the x-axis and turn off the concatenate labels, and it's surprising that I'm still seeing them concatenated here, where I saw a good tip by Power BI YouTube channel where they showed that to get the desired effect, you actually have to sort by that category column, the hierarchy column, to have the first column show up on its own and not concatenate those values. So that only works when you sort by the category column. But say I really wanted to show these in my desired product order, but I wanted to have descending values, for example. So an extension of what I showed before is you can use like a measure to multi-sort things, and we'll lose this nice layout here because we'll be sorting by something else. But if we show this measure here that I call dual sort, in this case I'm combining the values from 2 things, in this case a column and a measure. But I'm just taking and I'm making a text string out of both of them that I'm going to use to sort. And so in this case, I'm just taking the minimum product, so it'll get basically the selected value for the product, and then I'm formatting the value as a 4-digit text value. And so this is why I can get the leading zeros that I'll need for this to work alphabetically. And since I want it descending, I know my values are all less than 1,000. So in this case, I'm taking 1,000, subtracting the total value to sort of get the inverse, get it so that it's descending, and then formatting that as a 4-digit number. So 350 would be 0350, for example, so that alphabetical will work. And so then if I take that dual sort measure and put it in the tooltips, and then it becomes available for me to use as an option to sort by, and then I can do the dual sort here, and then I get my desired order where I'm using 2 columns to sort by. I lose the nice layout that it had before where the product was down below, but at least I get it in the order I wanted, where I have my product, and then I have descending measure values for each product. So just another tip you can use in case it comes in handy for you. All right, so thank you for watching the video. Again, if you're learning from these, please go ahead and subscribe to the Hoosier BI YouTube channel. Thank you.